If you are still struggling now in 2026 to attract the love of your life, I want to say that the issues that you are having are all in your head. And that is what we're going to talk about, the mindset shifts that you need to be making now that we're in a new year in order to become a woman who attracts the healthy, loving relationships that you want. So, I'm Keshia Rice. I'm a dating coach, I'm a hypnotherapist. I help women learn how to attract healthy love after identifying the unhealthy patterns that have prevented it up until this point. And, I know a little something about making these mindset shifts. It was a quarter life crisis for me. It was being in a terrible situationship that led me to get to a point in my life where I realized that all of the ways that I had been thinking up to that point, all the things that I've been doing were not working. And that if I wanted to have a better career, if I wanted to make more money, if I wanted to be healthier and better manage, the chronic illness that I had, and if I wanted to find love, I had to make some serious shifts in my thinking. And I did those things, moved cities, changed careers, got married. Here we are. So I am going to be talking about 8 different mindset shifts. And before I get into them, if you are listening and you are a Christian girly like me, there are 2 Bible verses that I'm going to be referencing throughout this. And so I don't have to keep repeating where they are and where they come from. I'm going to give them to you off the top. So one is Matthew 6:19 through 21, and it's do not store up yourselves treasures on earth, but store up for yourself treasures in heaven. And then the other is be still and know that I am God. That is Psalm 46:10. And if you're not a Christian girly, no worries. You will still find this applicable to your life and to your mindset. But again, for the women who are, I want you to know that these verses are kind of anchoring the things that I'm saying. So getting into those mindset shifts, the first one is understanding that your source never comes from outside of you. It never comes from the external. And that's kind of that whole idea of not storing up your treasures on earth and not being so concerned with all the things that you see around you. And I know that that is a lot easier said than done because we are surrounded by sources of external validation all the time, right? So there's social media. People are always posting their highlight reels for likes and comments and engagement and attention. And then if you are single, there's a good chance that maybe you're on dating apps, which I don't think there's anything wrong with dating apps. I used them a lot myself when I was single. I think that they are a tool. They shouldn't be the only way that you're meeting people, but they are one way that you can add to your arsenal. But I also think that we just have to be very intentional about the tools, the external things that we use to get what we want in life. And I think we have to be very clear about not making those things the end all be all, not making those things little gods unto themselves, right? So we have to understand that in dating, using apps, asking other people to help set us up, going to every single event, like those are helpful things, but you shouldn't get validation from those, as in if you go to X number of events or if you are signed up to X number of apps, it's absolutely going to guarantee a relationship. And you also shouldn't put all of your validation into a partner to begin with. I understand as a married woman that I love my husband and he loves me, right? But he is not my source of love, safety, and security, right? Those are all things, the love, the safety, and security are the things that I get from God and that I also give to myself. And my husband can be an instrument through which those things flow, right? So when he does nice things for me, when he plans dates, when he takes care of me, all of those things, then yes, he is showing love. And when he does things to take care of me, he's giving safety and security. But he is not my source for those things. It worked out so that God allowed him to be in my life to be a conduit for those things. But regardless of whether or not he was here, I would still have love, safety, and security. And again, that's not to diminish him, because I believe that the relationships that come into our life are not an accident. And I believe that everyone put in our life is put in our life for a purpose, and it is strategic. But I also do not allow myself to, again, get to a point where because a person loves me, I conflate that with being my only source of love and turn that into a situation where you basically end up worshiping another human being. So when you put yourself in a position where you start to have thoughts like, good men are hard to find, so let me hold on to this one person because he's quote unquote good, even if he's not necessarily 100% aligned with all the things that I want, or even if I don't feel like this is clearly the person who I was meant to be with. Or when you start saying that all the good ones are taken, or that dating is exhausting, or that once you feel chosen, then you'll be secure. When you say things like that, you are making something external your source. You are making, if you're single, you're making a person who's not there yet, who's not in your life, your source. And what that leads to is you will end up constantly being anxious, putting way too much effort into every single relationship that comes along, constantly chasing, even if these people are not the right people for you. And it leads to poor discernment and poor judgment, because you will start taking the first thing that looks kind of okay instead of what is actually divinely meant for you. If you want to consistently attract high quality men, then you have to have an inner peace about you that no matter what, you are safe, you are loved, you are chosen, and you are provided for. And when you have that confidence and that energy, you will always attract good things. But when you come from a place of being needy, then you will always repel what is healthy. And that kind of leads me into this idea that security, because we talked about wanting to be loved and safe and protected. The security actually comes before the relationship. It's not the other way around. So you will never be in a situation where once you find a partner, you're going to feel safe and secure, and that's the end all be all. In fact, I typically find with women that I work with that it's the exact opposite. If they enter relationships from a place of insecurity and low self-worth and low self-esteem, then they get into the relationships and the low self-worth and low self-esteem increases even more. Because one, they just end up jealous of anyone who so much as breathes in the direction of their partners. And two, oftentimes, back to that whole idea of needy energy repelling, needy energy does tend to bring in the least desirable people and outcomes. So if you are someone who has low self-esteem, low self-worth, you don't feel very secure, what you often will end up attracting are people who will seek to take advantage of that, people who will manipulate that. So that will add to your feeling of insecurity, not take away. So we talk so much about chemistry in relationships and what that means. And oftentimes, if you've listened to me before, you know I often talk about chemistry in kind of a negative light, about how it is often people's trauma bonding, their toxicity bonding with another person's toxicity. But even on the positive side, too, people who have good self esteem and good self worth have chemistry with people who also have good self esteem and good self worth. When you have this kind of relaxed self possession about yourself, that is incredibly magnetic and attractive to other people who have it. Because think about it. If you are secure and at peace, you don't want to be with someone who is chaotic. So you are going to be attracted to someone who has at least the same level of peace that you have. And when you are at peace and you have a partner who's at peace and both of you love yourselves, both of you understand your worth, it's easier to commit to that person. It's easier to have that emotional stability in the relationship. And this is why people who have an anxious attachment style really struggle in dating, because it's not about them giving too much love or feeling like they're too much for someone else. It is about the fact that they are outsourcing their security to another person, and that other person feels that and feels like it's way too much pressure. When a woman is securely attached, securely anchored, she doesn't date in order for a man to choose her. She dates from a place of already being chosen. She dates from a place of knowing, again, that she's already loved, she's already chosen, she's already cherished. And when a good man comes into her life, he's just a conduit. He is a physical expression of the love that she already has. He's just the hands providing more love and attention to her. Back to that verse I mentioned about being still and knowing that God is God. The third mindset shift that you need to make is understanding that you are more magnetic the calmer you are. So before you get really serious about seeking a husband, you really need to be serious about seeking calmness. Because when you are calm, collected, and confident, then you are the most attractive you'll ever be. It's not the women who are the loudest, who are the most quote unquote impressive, or who are even the hottest by beauty standards that get the best relationships. It is the women who know that they don't have to rush. It's the women who aren't afraid of losing anyone. It's the women who trust the timing of their lives. They trust their discernment. They're not trying to convince other people of who they are. And they are fine with however any relationship ends. Because if they meet the right person and that person loves them and cherishes them and takes care of them for the rest of their lives, then that's great. Then, they'll be with that person and they'll be happy. And if they meet a man, and even if the man is nice enough, that man is not aligned with the things that they want, or that man doesn't have the capacity to give them the things that they want, that's also fine, because they can leave that relationship knowing that the person who's going to give them what they want is out there, and they have no doubt in that. And when a man meets a woman like that, subconsciously, he picks up on it. And he knows that this is a woman who provides emotional safety. And as much as I kind of hate the phrase high value because it's so overused nowadays, that's a high value woman, right? So a man who is healthy and who's looking for a healthy relationship, he does not want a partner who's going to be all about urgency and all about quickly. You must prove to her incredibly quickly that she's the best, that you're in love with her, and that she's quote unquote worthy of a relationship. And just to be clear, this does not mean that you should date somebody for years and years, right? If you're serious about getting married. But it also means that you don't need to rush a relationship that's only a week long, right? So the fourth mindset shift is getting over this idea of being picked. There's so much social media content about being a pick-me or being a pick-me-sha. And I want to be clear that when it comes to being in a relationship, if you find the right man for you, if you find the right partner, he did not pick you. You were revealed to him. So you have to remember that no one chooses you and then you become worthy. People are a mirror and they are responding to the things that you already believe about yourself. So if you believe that love is scarce, then you are going to tolerate a lot of things that a woman who believes love is abundant is not going to tolerate. You're going to tolerate inconsistent communication. You're going to tolerate emotional unavailability. You'll tolerate situationships. You'll tolerate over-explaining yourself. And when you believe that love is everywhere, love circulates, and that there are multiple sources of love coming into your life, then you are a lot more selective. And this doesn't mean that you're cold-hearted. It doesn't mean that you are hard. You can still be soft, but it means that you're more discriminate about the things that you want and the things that you will put up with. The fifth mindset shift is this idea that guilt and approval are two of the biggest things that kill attraction. So when you constantly feel guilty in a relationship, it blocks your discernment. And that guilt is things like You feel like you're being mean if you dare to have standards. You feel like you're judgmental if you walk away. You feel like you're ungrateful if you ask for more in a relationship. You feel like in order to be okay, people have to like you. And if you are constantly seeking approval from any and everyone, then it keeps you vibrationally low. And it means that you have to lower yourself in order to make everyone else happy and okay. I've seen this saying all over online that you shouldn't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. And that's what guilt does. It causes you to damage yourself, to lower yourself for the hope that everyone else around you will be happy. And I can tell you from experience that even if you do that, you will not make everyone around you happy. There will still be at least one person in your life who will still have something critical to say. So you might as well love yourself, right? And the sixth mindset shift that I want you to consider is this idea of perpetual increase equals an abundance in love. So we talk about scarcity thinking a lot when it comes to money. The idea that I was thinking about a old timey song that I heard a while ago. I think it came out like the 20s or 30s or something. But there was a line in the song that said the rich get richer and the poor get children. And this whole idea that when people have money and they're rich, it seems like just more and more riches come to them. Whereas a lot of times when people are really struggling with money and they're dealing with a lot of hardship, they oftentimes find themselves in situations where more hardships come in, right? They're already paycheck to paycheck and then something breaks and they have to spend money to fix it. Or because they couldn't pay the bills, then they had to deal with an eviction. And then, getting a new place comes with maybe having to pay extra months of the rent to show that they have it, that they're secure, things like that. So scarcity just begets more and more scarcity. And you see this in dating too. Women will get into a relationship and they think maybe because they're hitting a certain age or they've been in a certain number of relationships before, oh, this relationship is my last chance. Or I have to stay in this crappy relationship because I can't see myself starting over again. Or I'm running out of time. Or what if I never find someone better? And when you have those thoughts, all you do is settle. Whereas when you flip that thought to there's always another aligned relationship, another aligned opportunity, you no longer feel pressured. And taking that pressure off is going to release so much weight. It may actually physically release weight because, stress and cortisol can often lead to weight gain, but it will also release mental and emotional weight, and it will make you so much more attractive. The seventh mindset shift I want you to consider is as within, so without. So I kind of referenced this before about the whole idea of if you want to attract love, you have to already feel loved. You have to already be loved. And if you want to be with a partner who makes you feel safe, you have to already feel safe because people, not just in romantic relationships, but relationships in general, the people who come into our lives mirror how we already see ourselves. So you can't go around demanding safety and you don't have that sense of safety within yourself. You can't demand commitment when you are constantly wavering with yourself. You can't keep commitments to yourself. You have no trust in yourself. You attract that commitment by being a person who has, as I mentioned earlier, that calm presence, a presence that feels like home. So if you truly want a great partner, an exercise that I would recommend for you as a journal exercise is to take out a piece of paper and write down the qualities that you want in a partner and then ask yourself, how are you embodying those things yourself? Where could you improve? And that leads me to the last shift, which is not just thinking these things, but being practical in how you embody them. So this is the point where you are going to go out and apply the things that I'm saying to you, right? Not just take it in and move on about your day. You are going to Date slower. Again, date from a place of calm. Don't feel like you have to be Pokemon and go out and catch them all, right? Be really intentional about the relationships that you choose to pursue. You are going to, when you're out here dating, when you're out here in general having conversations with men, you're going to speak less and you're going to observe more. You're going to allow yourself to feel first and decide second. When you're with someone, does this person feel like a safe person? Do I feel like I'm enjoying myself? And you are going to not be afraid to walk away sooner rather than later. You know, I have clients ask me all the time, how many times should they go on a date with someone before they cut it off when they're just not feeling it? And first of all, if there's a glaring red flag, then walk away the second you feel the red flag, right? Because it's not going to get better. People on their best behavior when you first meet them, it is not going to get better. But beyond that, I think you can allow for the fact that sometimes on a first date people have some nerves, and that's okay. If there's nothing glaringly wrong, it was just, maybe not the most engaging, maybe a little bit awkward. I'm all for giving someone a second chance. But if the second time it's still not any better, then yeah, walk. You are not being heartless or mean or anything like that. You were actually being kind because you're giving them a chance to meet the person right there who's right for them as well. But beyond that, you are also going to trust the neutrality. Because again, we talked about chemistry, and I get that people like that whole idea of the roller coaster of emotional highs and lows and love and everything. But your life is not meant to be like that. It's just like when a person gets a new job, like if you're a career girly and you get a new job that you really love, and once you start that new job, there's the emotional high of being the new girl at the company, the new worker, and meeting everyone, and everyone's so nice and friendly to you, and people give you so much more grace because you're still learning everything. And then you settle into that job for a while, right? And it's the same with relationships too. That intense, passionate feeling that you have in relationships, like after you marry someone and you've been married for a few years, yeah, you love them, but you also have like a daily routine that you start to get settled into. And from the very beginning of a relationship, those are the moments that you need to pay attention to. You need to pay attention to the kind of neutral, calm moments, the moments in between the big romantic gestures. How are you feeling during those moments? Do you feel safe? Do you feel loved? Do you feel cared for? So, calmness is the signal that this is a relationship that will actually feed you, that will actually serve you. Feeling secure in that relationship is the thing that will make you more attractive and will keep the attraction between you and that other person. Love responds to security, both the security that you feel with a partner, but also most importantly to your own internal security. And that is why throughout this whole dating process, it is so important that you are able to regulate your nervous system, to keep calm, and to have a discerning mind as you go through this process. So if you need help with that, I would love to guide you through that and coach you through making you your most attractive self ever. And making this year your year to find the right partner. You can go to my website. It is termsofattraction.com, and you can check out ways to work with me. I will talk to you soon. I love you so much. Bye.